I thought I had it all figured out. 3 years into marriage with Bryn, a beautiful yoga instructor who seemed to understand my quiet nature, a solid career as a software engineer, a peaceful life that did not require me to be anyone but myself. Then Bryn started spending time with Paige, my older sister, the same person who had spent our entire childhood making me feel worthless. Paige called herself a marriage counselor now, and apparently she had convinced my wife that I needed fixing. One evening I came home early and overheard them on the phone discussing something called the Cooper Improvement Project. Before I tell you how my own wife and sister tried to reshape me into someone I was not, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what happened next will show you why you should never let anyone rewrite who you are. Now let me take you back to where it all started to fall apart. Bryn and I met at a tech conference 4 years ago. She was there teaching a mindfulness session for stressed-out programmers, and I was there trying to avoid small talk in the hallway. Somehow we ended up at the same coffee station, and she made the first move. She told me later that she loved how I did not try to impress her with big talk or fake confidence. I was just myself, quiet and honest. We dated for a year before I proposed in our favorite bookstore. No flash, no crowd, just us. Our marriage was everything I needed. We cooked together on weeknights, tried new recipes that usually turned out mediocre but made us laugh anyway. Weekends meant old movies on the couch or short road trips to small towns where nobody knew us. Bryn never pushed me to be more social or outgoing. She told me she fell in love with the man who preferred deep conversations over loud parties, who showed love through actions instead of grand gestures. I had kept Paige out of our lives deliberately. Growing up, she was relentless. 5 years older than me, she treated me like a disappointment from the moment I could remember. Too skinny, too quiet, too interested in books instead of sports. She compared me to her friends' brothers who played football or got into fights. When I brought home straight A's, she said grades did not matter if you could not handle the real world. When our parents praised my acceptance into a good university, she rolled her eyes and said anyone could get into college these days. Every family dinner became a stage for her to point out my flaws while our parents awkwardly tried to change the subject. After college, I moved across the state and kept contact minimal. Paige got married, divorced, then reinvented herself as a relationship expert with online certifications that seemed questionable at best. She posted constantly on social media about fixing broken marriages and empowering couples. I scrolled past, relieved to be far from her influence. Then 6 months ago, our parents died in a car accident. Sudden, brutal final. At the funeral, Paige approached me with tears in her eyes and said we were all each other had left. She apologized for how she treated me. Growing up, blamed it on her own insecurities. She seemed genuine. I wanted to believe people could change. Bryn was the one who really pushed for reconciliation. She grew up as an only child and romanticized sibling relationships. She could not understand why I wanted to keep my only sister at a distance, especially now that our parents were gone. Family is family, she kept saying. Everyone deserves a second chance. I gave in because I loved her and because a small part of me wanted to believe Paige had actually changed. The first few family dinners were surprisingly pleasant. Paige asked about my work, complimented the home Bryn, and I had built together, even laughed at my awkward jokes. She talked about her counseling practice, how she helped couples find their best selves together. Bryn was fascinated. She started meeting Paige for coffee on Saturday mornings, then texting her throughout the week. I was happy they got along, even if something in my gut felt uneasy. The unease turned into something heavier when Bryn started making suggestions. Small things at first. She bought me clothes I would never pick for myself. Slim-fit shirts in bold colors that made me feel like I was wearing a costume. Paige helped me choose these, she said brightly. You will look more confident. When I pointed out that I felt perfectly confident in my usual plain t-shirts and jeans, she kissed my cheek and said sometimes we do not see our own potential. Then came the gym membership. Bryn signed us both up for early morning sessions, high-intensity interval training that left me exhausted and miserable. I hated every minute of it. I had always preferred long walks or the occasional swim activities that let my mind wander. But Bryn insisted, quoting Paige's advice, that physical fitness reflects mental strength. When I suggested we could just take walks together like we used to, she looked disappointed and said I was not taking my health seriously. The networking events were worse. Bryn started pushing me to attend industry mixers and professional socials, events I had always avoided because they drained me completely. You need to be more visible, she said. Paige says successful people network more. I tried to explain that I was successful by my own measures, that my work spoke for itself, but Bryn just sighed and said I was being defensive. One Tuesday evening, I came home early from work because a meeting got canceled. I heard Bryn's voice from the bedroom talking on the phone. The door was slightly open. I was about to walk in when I caught Paige's name and stopped. Phase 1 is working, Bryn was saying. He is starting to follow the program. The gym, the clothes. He is doing it all. Next, we need to work on his social skills. Get him out of his shell. I stood frozen in the hallway. My heart hammered against my ribs. Program? What program? Paige's voice came through the speaker, tinny but clear. Good. But you cannot be too soft on him, Bryn. Men like Cooper need firm guidance. He has been coddled his whole life, allowed to hide. We are doing him a favor. Bryn laughed, a sound that made my stomach turn. You are right. I just have to remember this is for his own good. For our marriage. I backed away slowly, my mind racing. They were planning something. Something about me. Something they thought I needed without ever asking if I wanted it. That night I could not sleep. Bryn curled up beside me completely at ease while my mind replayed the conversation over and over. What was phase 1? What came next? How long had this been going on? The next day, Bryn left for her yoga classes. I knew she would be gone for at least 3 hours. I had never invaded her privacy before, never felt the need to. We trusted each other, or so I thought. Her laptop sat on the kitchen counter, still open from the morning. I told myself I was just checking something harmless, but my hands moved to the keyboard with purpose. I opened her recent documents. The third file down made my blood run cold. The Cooper Improvement Project. 15 pages. Detailed analysis. Charts. Timelines. I clicked it open and started reading. The first section was written by Paige. Her assessment of me was clinical and cruel. Cooper exhibits classic signs of emotional stuntedness. At 30, he behaves like a sheltered adolescent. His social awkwardness limits his potential and puts unnecessary strain on his marriage. He lacks the masculine energy that women instinctively respond to. Without intervention, Bryn will eventually lose respect for him. Below that, Bryn had added notes in a different color. I agree that he is too passive. I love him, but sometimes I wonder if I settled. He is safe, but not exciting. I wish he was more assertive, more like Derek from my advanced yoga training. Derek commands a room. Cooper disappears in one. Derek. She had never mentioned anyone named Derek. I forced myself to keep reading. The plan was broken into phases spanning 6 months. Phase 1 focused on physical transformation. New wardrobe, new fitness routine, improved posture and body language. Phase 2 was social reprogramming. Mandatory networking, public speaking practice, learning to be more aggressive in professional settings. Phase 3 involved career advancement. They wanted me to either demand a promotion or switch to a more prestigious company, something with a flashier title that Bryn could mention at parties. The goal statement at the end punched the air from my lungs. Objective: transform Cooper into the husband Bryn deserves, a man who leads rather than follows. A man she can be proud of in any setting. I closed the laptop and sat in silence. My own wife saw me as a project. Not a partner, not someone she loved for who he was. A fixer-upper. A disappointment that needed renovation. And she had recruited the one person who had spent years making me feel worthless to help her do it. The anger came slowly rising like a tide. Not explosive. Just cold and certain. I spent the week watching them. Really watching. Bryn consulted her phone, constantly texting Paige updates. She steered conversations toward topics Paige had coached her on. She corrected my posture when I slouched. She frowned when I ordered my usual coffee instead of trying something new. Every small thing I did was measured against some invisible standard I had never agreed to. Then came the intervention. Bryn announced a family dinner on Friday night. Just us and Paige. I knew what was coming, but I went along with it. I needed to see how far they would take this. Paige arrived with a leather portfolio and a smile that did not reach her eyes. Dinner was tense, filled with small talk that felt rehearsed. When we finished eating, Bryn cleared the table while Paige set up her portfolio on the coffee table like she was preparing a business presentation. "Cooper, we need to talk about your growth," Paige began, her voice taking on that professional tone she used in her online videos. "I have been working with Bryn, and we have identified some areas where you could really benefit from focused development." I looked at Bryn. She would not meet my eyes. Paige continued. "You are 30 years old, but in many ways you still act like you are in your college dorm. You hide from opportunities. You avoid challenges. Real men take charge of their lives. They do not hide behind computer screens." I felt the old familiar shame creeping in, the same feeling I had as a kid when she tore me apart at the dinner table. But this time, something was different. This time I had a choice. "Bryn deserves a partner who can lead, not follow," Paige said, leaning forward. "Someone who shows strength and ambition. And I know you have that in you, Cooper. You just need guidance to bring it out." Bryn finally spoke up. "We have put together a plan, honey. It is going to take some work, but Paige has helped so many couples through this. If you just trust the process, we can get to such a better place." I looked between them, my wife and my sister. Two people who were supposed to love me sitting there telling me I was not enough. "Is this really what you want?" I asked Bryn quietly. She nodded. "I want the best version of you, Cooper. And Paige can help us get there." Paige pulled out a document. "Think of this as a roadmap," she said. "Weekly coaching sessions with me, daily check-ins with Bryn, measurable goals for the next 3 months. It is all here." The next few weeks were hell. I went along with it at first, partly out of shock, partly because some damaged part of me still wondered if they were right. Maybe I was broken. Maybe I did need fixing. The coaching sessions happened every Tuesday night at our house. Paige would arrive at 7 sharp, portfolio in hand, and spend 2 hours picking apart everything about me. The way I spoke was too soft. The way I stood showed weakness. My habit of pausing to think before answering questions made me seem uncertain. She had critique for everything. She made me practice conversations, pushing me to be more aggressive, more dominating. When I tried to explain that was not my personality, she cut me off. "That is exactly the problem, Cooper. Your personality is holding you back." Bryn sat beside her through every session, taking notes, nodding along. Never once did she defend me. Never once did she say maybe Cooper is fine the way he is. They forced me to networking events where I stood awkwardly in corners trying to schmooze with strangers about industry trends I did not care about. Paige had given me scripts to follow, conversation starters that felt fake coming out of my mouth. "Be memorable," she had commanded. "Make them remember you." I started losing sleep. My appetite disappeared. At work, I could barely concentrate. My friend Garrett noticed during our usual lunch on Wednesday. "Dude, you look terrible," he said, setting down his sandwich. "What is going on?" I told him everything. The whole sick story. Garrett's face went from concerned to furious. "That is messed up, man. They are gaslighting you. This is emotional abuse." I shook my head. "But what if they are right? What if I really do need to change?" Garrett grabbed my shoulder. "Listen to me. You are one of the smartest, most genuine people I know. You have built an amazing career being exactly who you are. Your work is respected. Your team loves you. You do not need to be some loud, aggressive stereotype to be successful or worth loving." His words stayed with me, circling in my head during the quiet moments. But I still could not bring myself to end it. Not yet. The breaking point came during week 8. Paige sat across from me, reviewing my progress reports like a disappointed teacher. "Your metrics are improving, but your attitude is still resistant," she said. "This week I need you to turn down the Anderson project at work." I looked up sharply. "What, the Anderson project?" "It is taking up too much of your time. Time you should be spending on networking. There is a big industry event on Thursday that you need to attend." The Anderson project was the most important thing I had worked on in years. A complete system overhaul for a major client. I had pitched it myself, assembled the team, spent months developing the architecture. It was personal. It mattered. I cannot do that, I said. This project is important to me. Paige's eyes went cold. This is exactly why you are stuck, Cooper. You prioritize the wrong things. You choose comfort over growth. This is why you will never reach your potential. I felt Bryn tense beside me. Maybe she is right, honey, she said quietly. One project would not define your career, but the connections you make at that event could change everything. I looked at my wife, the woman I had promised my life to, the woman who was supposed to know me better than anyone, and she was choosing Paige's opinion over mine, over us. You know what Paige said, opening her portfolio? I think you need tougher love. Bryn has been too soft on you. We need structure, accountability. She pulled out a printed contract. It was 2 pages long, single-spaced, outlining every change I would make over the next 3 months. New job requirement, mandatory social calendar, weekly weigh-ins, daily reports to Bryn. At the bottom was a signature line. If you love Bryn, you will do this, Paige said, sliding the contract across the table. Prove you are willing to fight for your marriage. I picked up the pen. My hand shook. I looked at Bryn one more time. Do you really want me to sign this? She hesitated, just for a second, then nodded. It is for us, Cooper. I set the pen down. No. The word hung in the air like a gunshot. Paige laughed, sharp and bitter. No. You cannot even finish a simple improvement program, and you think you can just say no. Something inside me snapped. Not into rage, into clarity. I stood up. I am done. Done. Paige's voice dripped with contempt. You cannot handle basic constructive criticism. I looked at her, really looked at her for the first time in months. You have bullied me my whole life, I said quietly. When we were kids, you made me feel worthless every single day. I thought you had changed. I wanted to believe you had changed, but you are still the same person. The only difference now is you convinced my wife to help you. Bryn stood up. Cooper, that is not fair. I turned to her and I felt the tears coming, but I did not stop them. You knew what she did to me growing up, how she made me feel like I was never good enough, like I was broken. And you teamed up with her to do it again. I just wanted you to reach your potential, Bryn whispered. My potential? Or the version of me you wish I was? The version that looks good at parties? The version that sounds impressive when you talk about me to your yoga friends? The room went silent. I took a breath. You have 2 choices. Accept me exactly as I am, the person you married. The person who loved you enough to let you try to change him. Or leave. But I am done being your project. Paige stood, gathering her things. See, Bryn, this is the weakness I was talking about. He cannot handle real feedback. He is too fragile. I pointed at the door. Get out of my house. Now. Paige looked at Bryn, waiting for her to say something. Bryn stayed silent, staring at the floor. Paige left, slamming the door behind her. When we were alone, I pulled out my phone and opened the files I had saved. The Cooper Improvement Project, the text messages, the notes about Derek from yoga training. I read them out loud, every word, every criticism, every comparison. Every moment Bryn had doubted me behind my back while smiling to my face. You went through my things, she whispered. You went through my entire being and tried to rewrite it, I said. I laid out my terms. She would cut off all contact with Paige, completely. No calls, no texts, no meetings. We would find a real therapist, someone who was not related to either of us. And Bryn would have to earn back my trust through actions, not words. If she could not agree to all of that, I would file for divorce. I already had the lawyer's number saved in my phone. I had not called yet, but I was ready. Bryn cried. She apologized. She begged. I did not budge. That night I moved into the guest room. The next morning I called my friend Garrett. We met for coffee and I told him everything that happened. You did the right thing, man, he said firmly. Standing up for yourself is not weakness. It is the strongest thing you can do. Over the next week, Paige tried to contact Bryn constantly. Calls, texts, emails. Bryn ignored all of them, just like I had demanded. Then Paige turned her attention to me, sending long messages about how I was destroying my marriage because of my ego, how I was proving her point about my immaturity. I blocked her number, blocked her email, blocked her on every platform. At work, I threw myself into the Anderson project with renewed focus. Without the constant pressure to network and perform, I did my best work in years. My boss pulled me aside one afternoon. "Whatever is going on in your personal life, Cooper, it is bringing out something special in you. This work is exceptional." The compliment meant more than he knew. It reminded me that I was good at what I did, that I had value exactly as I was. 2 weeks after I gave Bryn my ultimatum, she made the first real move. She found a therapist, not someone Paige recommended. Not someone from her yoga network, an actual licensed marriage counselor with decades of experience. She booked the first appointment and asked if I would come. I went. In that first session, Bryn broke down. She admitted everything. How Paige had manipulated her, playing on her insecurities. How Paige kept comparing me to other husbands, making Bryn feel like she was failing as a wife. How Paige had convinced her that changing me was an act of love, not control. "I was insecure," Bryn said, tears streaming down her face. "And Paige used that against both of us. She made me doubt my own choice in marrying you. But you were never the problem, Cooper. I was. I betrayed you because I stopped trusting my own heart." The therapist helped us see what had happened. Paige had emotionally abused both of us. She had isolated me from my sense of self while isolating Bryn from her trust in our relationship. It was textbook manipulation. Bryn wrote me a letter. 10 pages handwritten. She did not ask me to read it right away, just left it on the kitchen counter. When I finally did, I cried. Real ugly crying. She detailed every moment she realized what she had done. Every regret. Every memory of who we used to be before Paige poisoned everything. She blocked Paige completely. Deleted her number. Removed her from social media. When Paige tried to reach out through mutual acquaintances, Bryn told them clearly that she wanted no contact ever. Paige sent one final email, a long screed blaming me for turning Bryn against her. I forwarded it to our therapist without responding. The therapist used it to show Bryn the pattern of abuse. How Paige never took responsibility, always made herself the victim. The next 3 months were hard. Therapy every week, sometimes twice. Bryn and I learning to talk to each other again, really talk without scripts or agendas. I learned to set boundaries, to say no without guilt, to trust my own judgment. I did not move back into our bedroom right away. I needed space. Bryn respected that. She did not push or guilt me. She just showed up day after day, proving through small actions that she meant what she said. She asked my opinion about everything, even small things. She stopped trying to change how I dressed or acted. When her yoga friends asked about Paige, Bryn defended me, told them what really happened. That meant everything. I spent time with Garrett and other real friends, people who liked me for me. I read books about self-worth and healthy relationships. I poured myself into work and watched the Anderson project come together beautifully. Slowly, I started to feel like myself again. Not the self Paige wanted. Not even the self Bryn had thought she wanted. Just me. And for the first time in months, that felt like enough. 4 months after the intervention, I moved back into our bedroom. Not because everything was fixed, but because we were building something new, something honest. Bryn and I still see the therapist. We probably will for a while. Our marriage is not perfect, but it is ours, built on who we actually are, not who someone else thinks we should be. Paige tried to reach out one more time 6 months later through a distant cousin. She wanted to apologize, the cousin said. She realized she had made mistakes. I told the cousin to tell Paige that I wished her well, but I was not interested in any relationship with her. Ever. Some bridges are better left burned. The whole experience taught me something important. I spent years thinking I needed to change to be worthy of love. That if I just tried harder, performed better, became someone different, then I would finally be enough. But the only change I actually needed was learning to love myself first, to protect that self, to refuse to hand over my identity to anyone, even people who claimed they were helping. The people who truly love you will not try to rebuild you from scratch. They will help you grow while honoring who you already are. They will challenge you to be better, not different. They will push you toward your own goals, not theirs. If someone treats their love like a renovation project, that is not love. That is control. And you do not owe anyone a different version of yourself. Not your spouse, not your family, not anyone. Bryn understands that now. She tells me often that she fell in love with me for a reason, and losing sight of that reason almost cost her everything. She does not want the man Paige tried to create. She wants the man who reads on Sunday mornings and prefers quiet nights to loud parties. The man who shows love through consistency, not grand gestures. I am not the man Paige wanted me to be. I am not even the man Bryn thought she wanted when she started this whole mess. But I am the man I chose to be. And that is the only version of me that matters. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay exactly who you are. To stand in the middle of the storm and say, no, I will not change just to make you comfortable. I will grow. I will learn. I will become better. But I will do it on my own terms as myself. That is the man I am now. The man I was always meant to be. Have you ever had someone try to change who you are? Maybe a partner, a family member, or even a friend who thought they knew better? Drop a comment below and share your story. And if this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about standing up for yourself. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they are enough exactly as they are. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that your worth is not up for debate. Stay true to yourself no matter who tries to rewrite you. Take care.